Hi guys, it's Mr. Caldwell here. We're going to talk really briefly about writing counterclaim paragraphs, okay? So here's the parts of a counterclaim paragraph, an outline of it, if you will. You can find this on the argument paper outline as well, assignment number 73. So it has a topic sentence that addresses a counterclaim, and then you are going to refute the counterclaim, which means you have to introduce a quote that has some evidence that goes with the counterclaim. You give the quote and the citation for it, and then you give some commentary and reasoning about that quote. You explain why it is ultimately flawed or wrong and your argument is stronger. All right? So you're giving a counterclaim, but also evidence for the counterclaim, and then defeating both with your own argument. So the first thing you're going to have is the topic sentence that addresses the counterclaim. All right, you identify an opposing viewpoint. You want to think about what somebody who doesn't support your argument might say. This is a hard thing to do, but it's one of the most important things for making sure you have a really strong argument. Figure out what people would use to defeat your argument and say that so that you can later prove why you are more correct than they are. So that's the next thing that you're going to do is refute the counterclaim, which means providing evidence to show why the counterclaim is unsound. All right? So to introduce the counterclaim, you have your topic sentence, and then you're going to introduce your quote that is evidence for that counterclaim. And again, quotes should not just come out of nowhere. You need to provide some context, right? So to start your counterclaim paragraph, you might say, some people say that XYZ. In an article from this place, that's introducing your quote, in an article from this person, here's evidence of them saying the counterclaim. And then you give your quote. Describe where that quote comes from before you give it, right? Then you give the quote and citation that is evidence for the counterclaim. So this can be a little bit confusing. That's why I keep saying it. But the first thing you're doing in your counterclaim paragraph is giving a topic sentence that tells me what is the counterclaim people would use to defeat your argument. And then the next thing you're doing is introducing and giving a quote that people who are arguing against you would use. So that's this moment right here. You give the quote and the citation that goes with the counterclaim. Then you give your commentary and reasoning. This is where you're really doing more work to strengthen your argument. This is where you're giving more ideas that strengthen your argument. Because you are saying, here's what other people say, here's evidence of them saying it, and then you get to this part where you say, here's why that's wrong. Discuss reasons why their argument is incomplete, weak, unsound, or illogical. You want to be poking holes in their argument and the evidence that you just gave for their argument. All right, you're showing why the counter argument is weak and why your argument is strong. All right, so let's go over that again. Let's go over the whole thing again. The first thing is a topic sentence that addresses a counterclaim. Something like, some people might say this about what I'm saying. Then you're refuting that counterclaim. All right, and the way you do that is introduce a quote, introduce some evidence for the counterclaim, give the quote that supports the counterclaim, and then give your commentary and reasoning about that quote that pulls apart the counterclaim, that says why you are making a stronger argument than the counterclaim or the quote that you just gave. All right? That is how you write a strong counterclaim paragraph.